Meet Jabba. Now Jabba, at 12 years old, was screamed at by his mum that he needs to work hard, get good grades, get a good job, and make money. His mum insisted that that's what he needs to do in life to have a good life, to be happy. The TV adverts of the shows that he watched, he was watching Cartoon Network, and the adverts whispered to him that his happiness is one purchase away. Fast forward a few more years and Jabba feels a little emptiness in his heart. He doesn't know what it is, but he tries to ignore it. He goes on social media and starts scrolling. And then he sees a video of his friends, people from his class, partying. He's even got one guy flexing a little Gucci belt. Jabba sees this and determines, based on his limited world experience, that for him to fit in, he needs to work hard, get good grades, get a good job, make some money, and buy cool clothing. Once I get a good job and make some money and buy cool things, people will like me. Oh, Jabba. So he locks in and gets good grades in his GCSEs and A-levels. The void is still there. Then he gets a nice paying 9-to-5 job. But again, the void is still there. And then he drops 2K on a new fit. What are you doing? He drops 400 on some Jordan 4s, 600 on a Gucci shirt, and 1K on a Miri jeans. 1K. But the void is still there. And the people that Jabba was trying to impress don't even care. He did all of that for nothing. Now the scary thing is that Jabba is not some special character. He's me. He's you. He's all of us. The same things have happened to all of us. And by watching this video, you can avoid going down the path of Jabba. So firstly, when we talk about happiness, what do we actually mean? Now when people say they want happiness, they don't actually mean that, because happiness is a feeling, it's fleeting, it's not something that can last forever. But what they're actually talking about is fulfillment, contentment. So fulfillment is the deep sense of satisfaction and contentment. And this is what people actually want when they say they want happiness. Now, before I walk you through the actions that you need to take to achieve this, you need to have some mindsets, which are very important. Firstly, you need to have the understanding that your mental health is in your control. Now, the science says that your mental health is 50% genetics, 40% your actions and thoughts, and 10% life circumstances. Now you might think, we only have 40% control. That's really bad and that's not as significant as you want it to be. But when you really think about it, it is very significant. Now, 10% being life circumstances. You've seen people in life that go through a traumatic experience, maybe a breakup, maybe a death of a loved one. And you see a huge shift in their life in terms of how they were before and after the experience. Like guys even crash out over breakups and heartbreak, and that's only 10%. So now imagine that your actions and thoughts have 4 times the effect on your mental health than those life circumstances that can have massive shifts. That 4 times is massive. You can't even imagine how big of a shift you can make. Really and truly, it's fully in your control. Next, we need to look at your self-image. Do you see yourself as a happy and content person, or do you see yourself as sad and depressed? Now, we like to think that we have conscious control over our actions and some of our thoughts, but that's not really the case. And your subconscious is actually what controls a lot of what you do and what you think. And your subconscious takes actions based off its thoughts and assumptions of the world and yourself. So if you think of yourself as a sad and depressed person, you're going to take more actions which inhabit a person who is sad and depressed. Not only that, but you taking those actions provides feedback to your subconscious that you are a sad and depressed person, and it's a cycle. Whereas if you see yourself as a happy and content person, you're going to take more actions and have more thoughts of a happy and content person. And it will give your subconscious evidence that you are a happy and content person, and the cycle continues. To change your self-image, You want to carry out vivid visualizations of you doing the things which you associate with being a happy and content person. Now you might think vivid visualizations, that's some wishy-washy stuff, but it's not, I promise you. And your brain actually can't tell the difference between a visualization and a real life experience. So that visualization is giving your subconscious evidence that you are a happy and content person. And if you don't believe that, close your eyes right now and just imagine that you and your friend are in the forest and you're camping. You're looking for berries to make some food. And all of a sudden you hear some rustling in the bushes beside you. And a bear pops out. You and your friend look at each other, then look at the bear and start sprinting for your lives. You're running, your heart is pounding. You're running as fast as you can. You're looking at your friend, you're thinking, if I just outrun him, then I'll survive, but I don't want him to die. And you're just running and running, and the bear is gaining on you and it's coming close to you. And feel your heart right now. Is it beating faster than it should at where you are right now? You're just sitting in your room, in your bed right now, just relaxing. Your heart rate has risen based on you visualizing a bear chasing you. Your body has produced a response that's required of a situation that you're not in, but something that you visualized. So as you can see, your body still responds to visualizations as if it was real. And therefore, visualizations will affect your subconscious and give you new evidence of you being a different person. I really find that cool, that you don't even have to experience something, but you can give yourself experiences. Like, that's actually insane. Next, you need to understand that any goal that you're striving for, whether it's money, a dream physique, maybe some social media following, will not make you happy. When you initially get it, it might give you some sense of satisfaction and some happiness. However, over time, you just get used to it and it becomes your new normal and it's no longer something that brings you the happiness. So you need to understand that. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't strive for things, but I am saying you must strive for these things in a way that doesn't sacrifice everything in life. You must strive for these things in a way that you can enjoy the journey. Now, this may take some creativity from you to think of a way for you to still enjoy the journey and still achieve the goal, but it's worth it because you're going to achieve the goal and you're not going to mess up your mental health. For example, I was attempting to eat healthy. I think diabetes actually runs in my family, but I like to eat a lot of sweets and I needed to stop that because I don't want to get diabetes. So what I did was I've tried quite a few things. So one thing I tried to do was basically send a picture of every meal that I had to my friend. That didn't work. I did make like my meals a lot more healthier, which I do like my meals as well, but just the snacks in between, like I wanted sweets. So the solution that I came across was just spamming fruit. So always having fruit in my kitchen. I had apples, bananas, blueberries, grapes, all of that because I love fruit. And I was just like, so I get a craving for a sweet treat. And then I eat a fruit, which is a sweet treat, but it's also healthy. Then I no longer have the craving because I've eaten the sweet treat. And I like it because I like fruit. So now I'm eating healthier and I'm enjoying the journey of eating healthier because I like the fruit, I like the meals I'm eating. So you just need to think of a solution, and it might not be the first solution and it does take some time, but over time, if you just keep thinking and researching and finding new solutions, then eventually one will come where you enjoy the journey and you're able to achieve the goal that you want. And lastly, in this mindset section, we need to look at how you go about achieving things and what's your mindset towards achieving things. There are two mindsets. There's the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. A fixed mindset is where you believe that performance is all based on your talent and an innate ability, and that hard work is actually a bad thing. And that if you worked hard for something, that you're not talented and that you shouldn't really pursue it. A growth mindset, on the other hand, is that you think that talent isn't innate and that your ability in anything comes from how hard you work in it and how much effort you put towards it. And that hard work is a good thing that you should strive towards. A fixed mindset leads to worse performance overall. If you think about it, if you only work on your natural talent, when the going gets tough, you won't work hard because you think that everything that you should do in life should come naturally to you. You don't need to work hard at all. Whereas with a growth mindset, there's an emphasis on making mistakes and trying to learn from those mistakes to improve. With a fixed mindset, you're afraid of making mistakes because that mistake will tell you that you're not talented and that you should give up. A growth mindset is much better for your mental health and also for achieving things, because even when the going gets tough, you don't give up. And I'd really emphasize that it's important for you to develop a growth mindset in life. Now, for the actual things, the actual habits that you need to do. And we'll split this into three. So you got the physical, the mental, and the spiritual side. First, the physical. Now, having poor physical health can really mess with your mental health, and they're basically linked. It's your health. Obviously, they're going to be linked together. And all these physical habits do feed into each other as well, so it's good for you to make an attempt with all of them. Firstly, sunlight. You need to get sunlight every single day, and not sunlight through the window. You need to step outside into the sun every day. If you don't do that, don't you feel a bit like a goblin? Like I do. Whenever I don't step outside, I just feel disgusting. Like I need to leave my house every day and get into the sun. If I leave my house like when the sun is set as well, I still feel a bit worse compared to if I step outside and the sun is out. And when I say out, I don't just mean like you can see the sun. Like even when it's overcast and the clouds are blocking the sun, that's still sunlight. Even though it's not as much, it's still sunlight and it's still very important. You feel a bit like a goblin if you don't step outside every day. So that's why you need to make sure you step outside every day. Now, sunlight is very important for hormone production, and hormone production has a huge effect on your mental health. So just getting sunlight every day will regulate it to a point where it's not going to be the factor which causes you to have bad mental health. On a sunny day where you can see the sun, just 5 minutes is even enough. And when it's cloudy, try to get about half an hour. And that's not a big investment. And even if you can't be asked to do half an hour every day, just try and do 5 minutes every day. Just step outside when the sun is out, and you'll see a huge difference. If you're in a country where you have less sunlight, like I'm in the UK and it's winter and the sun is literally out for like 8 hours and it's terrible, but you can take vitamin D supplements, but just keep in mind that those supplements can't replace sunlight fully, and you should still go outside every day and still get into the sun every single day. But the vitamin D is more an addition, just extra on top. The sunlight, if you get it early enough, can also help with your sleep. I can't be able to explain all the science, but effectively, if you get sunlight 16 hours before you're going to bed, like there's a chemical reaction that starts like the timer for you to get to bed 16 hours later. So basically, if you get sunlight as soon as you wake up, you're setting yourself up to have a good night's sleep. So that's also something I recommend. Get that sunlight literally as soon as you wake up if possible. Maybe it's not possible, but just try to. Like for example, when I'm in my house with my family, I have a balcony, so I can literally, as soon as I wake up, I can step outside and I'll be comfortable. Versus where I'm at now, I have to like go down a lift and step outside, and there's not really a balcony, it's a path in it, so I don't want to just be there. So sometimes it's a bit more of a challenge for me to go outside when I'm in my uni or com versus when I'm at home with my family. But it's still something that I have to make the effort towards. Next, water. Now, dehydration obviously can mess up your physical and mental health. You can't even think properly if you're dehydrated, so you really want to avoid that if possible. You want to be drinking as much as you can. You just want to drink a lot of water throughout the day. If you exercise as well, especially, you want to be drinking a lot of water if you're in a hot country too. So I personally attempt to drink a gallon of water every day. And that is a lot of water, but it's still safe and it is fine. Obviously, it depends on how big you are as a person. So like, I'm like not that tall, I'm not that big. So I don't need to drink as much water as maybe a friend of mine who's like 6'5". But just keep that in mind that you should drink a lot of water throughout the day. A lot more than we currently are drinking water. Now, the hardest thing about drinking water is probably the fact that you need to remember it. If you don't have any cues to drink water, you're just not going to drink water until you're really dehydrated. So what I recommend is having water bottles that are filled up around you at all times so you remember to drink water. So I have one here. This is not filled up, I just drank this, but you should have water bottles around you at a lot of times. You should have water bottles around you so you can remember to drink water. I also fill up, I have multiple bottles. I have 1, 2, 3. I have those bottles so that when I wake up, they're filled up. So I just drink them straight away and I rehydrate myself, especially when you finish sleeping, because when you're in your sleep, you just don't drink water for 8 hours. So obviously you're gonna wake up dehydrated. So I just down all these bottles as soon as I wake up. You do want to spread your water throughout the day. So obviously when I finish drinking these in the morning, I spread out my water throughout the day. And also don't try and drink too close to bedtime because that can interrupt your sleep and you don't want to interrupt your sleep. Next, diet. This is something I can actually make a 2-hour video on. Like, there's so much to think about and there's so much I don't even know, but I'm going to keep this simple. So firstly, we have the gut, and this is like your second brain and it's linked to your brain as well. So obviously the health of this gut will affect the health of your brain and your mental health, etc, etc. So you want to be eating foods which are good for your gut health. These are stuff like berries, nuts, like chickpeas, stuff like that. I have a proper list on the screen right now, but you want to be eating foods that are good for your gut health, and you want to avoid foods which aren't. And you already know what's not good for your gut health. Stuff like sugar, stuff like really processed food. So you want to avoid the processed stuff and just eat. For the gut health, it's nuts, it's berries, it's chickpeas, it's stuff like that. Next, you want to ensure that you want to be eating the right food for your hormones. So this is eating a lot of healthy fats. Again, nuts, fatty fishes like salmon. I'll have another list on the screen. But you want to be making sure that you're eating a lot of healthy fats. Now, fats are very high in calories and it's something that's been demonized by the world. But the right fats, healthy fats, are actually good for you. And we shouldn't really be restricted them. A lot of people do restrict their fats and able to lose weight. But that's probably the worst thing you can do. Because when you eat such a low amount of fats, you mess up your hormones and you just feel so much worse. And that will lead to you probably falling off this diet that you're trying to restrict yourself to. Not only that, it's just bad for your health. But, you know, the fitness industry, these guys don't care about health. They actually just care about how they look in the mirror. And yeah, it's a very vain part of social media, of society. And you know, you see a lot of body dysmorphia, and honestly, the fitness industry of people weightlifting and bodybuilding, it's just not good for your mental health, let's be real. And cool, you look good in the mirror, which I'm not saying people shouldn't weightlift as well, but just the whole culture around it is just not good for you. Like, these guys, they don't eat healthy at all. They just restrict their calories so they look good, but they're not healthy. You see these guys, they'll be eating. You see when these guys have pre-workout before every workout session, or they'll have like a can of Monster, which is terrible for your gut health as well, by the way. And they have it every single day, but then they claim that's for health, and they start hating on maybe bigger people as well, which I don't want to get into that. I don't want to get into it too much, but I'll just say that just because someone's fat doesn't mean they're unhealthy, and just because someone's slim and muscular doesn't mean they're healthy. And there is a correlation in the sense that the foods that will make you unhealthy generally tend to make you fat as well, but you can still eat those foods which will make you sick, which will make you unhealthy, and still look amazing. And you can eat healthy food and still get a bit bigger. And obviously it's not good for your joints and stuff like that, but that's not the real killer. The real killer is the visceral fat around your organs, and that's not caused by how much you eat, that's caused by what you eat. But the fitness industry don't ever talk about that. Now, overall, you just want to focus on eating single ingredient foods. So instead of chips, where you get the bag and they have random stuff inside of it, you just get yourself some potatoes and cut it up yourself and make it yourself. There's a lot more I could go into, but this is not the video for it. And if you want a video for it, just let me know in the comments. Also, like the video as well, because this is taking a lot of effort. We're not really educated properly on diet. Either the information is outdated or just completely wrong, and it's on us to educate ourselves. Now, you may think that changing your diet is a lot of effort. I don't want you to go and change all 3 of your meals from something that's not healthy and not good for you to something that is healthy and good for you, because you're just not going to stick to it. You need to make that change over time. You want to change it 1 meal at a time rather than everything at once, because you're just going to get overwhelmed. It's too much of a change. So, for example, when I was younger, I used to have Cocoa Pops, and I really liked them, but I felt sluggish after eating them, and it's not the best for my health. So I decided to start eating oats. Now, when I first started having oats, I didn't make them correctly. They didn't taste nice. But instead of just going back to the Cocoa Pops, I kind of experimented over time. So I adding protein powder, started adding like fruit to the oats, berries, nuts, and stuff like that. So I made it more healthy over time, and I made it taste nice over time as well. Then a bit more research, I realized that you probably don't want to be having carbs for breakfast. I wanted to avoid having carbs for breakfast because it made me feel sluggish. So I was like, okay, cool. I can switch to eggs. Eggs doesn't really have carbs in it. But I didn't really know how to cook eggs. So the first few times that I made eggs, I boiled them. I don't mind boiled eggs, but they're not the nicest. And then I was like, I'll learn how to fry them, started learning how to cook them, started learning what seasonings to use. So before I used to use like a seasoning called Maggi, which a lot of black people know about, but you're not really supposed to use that in your eggs. And people still do it, but you're not really supposed to. Then I learned just use salt and black pepper, which was alright again, but it wasn't really that nice. Then I did a bit more research and realized that people put cinnamon in their eggs, and cinnamon is quite sweet as well. So it made my eggs taste 10 times better. And now I love my breakfast. I have like eggs with like fruit and stuff, and I just love my breakfast. So just over time with experimentation, you'll find new meals which you like just as much as your old ones, which are healthy for you. And if you do this over time, you won't get overwhelmed. Next, exercise. Now, 30 minutes a day of exercise is shown to reduce depression as much as antidepressants, and it's free. Not only to consider the fact that the medicine has some other side effects, whereas exercise has no bad side effects, unless you hurt yourself, but you're not gonna hurt yourself, you're not dumb. Exercise is good for your mood, boosts cognitive performance, and just something you should be doing every day. Only 30 minutes a day, which is not that much at all. Now, in terms of what exercise to do, a lot of people will now suggest going to the gym and start weightlifting. And that's something you can do, but I'm not going to give you that advice. Like, the weightlifting is good to weightlift, and it does slow down aging and stuff like that. It's very good for people when you get older. But the way people suggest weightlifting nowadays is quite vain, and it's not really done in the healthiest way. So what will I suggest? I'll suggest joining a sports team of some sort. When you were a kid, you probably played some sort of sports. Maybe it was football, rugby, basketball. Maybe you were just playing catch with your friends, baseball, cricket, anything like that. When we were kids, we genuinely were happier people, and that's one of the reasons why we were playing sports a lot. Now, you want to find a sport that you like and enjoy and just start playing. Find a way to play it, whether that's finding a team where you can compete in. Maybe you have some friends, you get together and you just play some sports. You'll have a lot more fun playing sports than you will lifting weights. Not only that, you'll do quite a bit of running. Most of these sports have a lot of running to it, which is good for your cardiovascular health, which is actually way more important than the health benefits you get from weightlifting, which are still there and still important, but cardiovascular health is way more important. There's also the social aspect, which I'll talk about a bit later, but playing sports, having brothers around you, and just having a good time with them is very, very important for your mental health. Now, obviously, you can't really play some of these sports quite intensely every single day. That's gonna break down your body, honestly. Like, you see the professional footballers, they're not playing 90-minute matches every single day because that would destroy them. So you're gonna have some off days with these sports, and in these days you can do much more light forms of exercise. So for example, you can go on a brisk walk for 30 minutes. You can do some high intensity interval training. You can search up on YouTube and follow something there. You could even go to the gym and weightlift as well, but there are just health benefits there. So you going to the gym in the days that you're not playing the sport that you chose is going to be beneficial. Obviously, missing one day isn't the end of the world, but you want to try and keep that consistency. Try and make sure you do 30 minutes every day, maybe 10 minutes every day. Just get your heart pumping. That's really good for you. Lastly, sleep. Now, we are all sleep deprived, including me. I really struggle with this as well. We let life take over and restrict our time. We try and take that time back by restricting our sleep and sleeping a lot less. However, sleeping less is linked to depression, and when you think about it, that really does make sense. If you don't even sleep properly, how can your brain function properly and cope with life and manage your moods? It can't, because you're not sleeping properly. Don't even need to tell you everything about why sleep is important. We already know this. The more you sleep, the longer you live. Like, the less you sleep, your life is just shortened. It prevents bare diseases and improves your performance and using your brain and physical performance as well. So sleep has so many benefits, and the only issue is that it takes time. Sleep has so many benefits, and it's something we need to invest our time into. Now, you need to keep in mind that time in bed does not equal time asleep, and you want to be getting 8 hours of sleep a night. And this is something I struggle with as well, but I have made progress in this. So I'll have a set bedtime, and you might think, oh, you're a kid, how you got a bedtime? But Is this a time that I aim to get in bed for? Having this set just gives you a routine to kind of stick to. Once you reach this time, it's like, alright, cool, time to get to bed, time to sleep. And that's a lot better than kind of freestyling it, which is what I used to do. Don't eat close to your time that you set, probably 2 hours before the time that you set. You don't want to eat. You want to drink as little water as possible. If you're feeling dehydrated, fair enough, but drinking water can interrupt your sleep as well. You want to turn off all your normal lights. I have like LED lights. When it's like 2 hours within the time that I'm going to sleep, I have the red ones on, which I've heard doesn't negatively affect your sleep, so that's why I have them on, and turn off all the normal like white lights. Also put your devices on night shift, so like, you know, when you have like the orange tint on your phone and your laptop, have that on if you're using your devices within like 2 to 3 hours of going to bed. Try to keep your exercise time far away from your bedtime, and also get sunlight as early in the day as possible, and those will all improve your sleep a bit more. And yeah, it is really hard in this life. You feel like you don't have a lot of time, and sleep is kind of something that takes your time, but it's something that you can kind of get away with not doing. But in the long run, you don't get away with it. Your life is literally shorter, so it's definitely something you should take into account, and definitely something that you should invest in. Next, the mental habits that help your mental well-being. Firstly, gratitude. This is where you review a person, an experience, or an object with a deep sense of appreciation. And this is shown to boost mood and lower stress. There are many ways to show gratitude in your life. Me personally, I like to make it a habit, so I gratitude journal. So this is where you write down what you're grateful for. I'm grateful for this water bottle because it allows me to keep hydrated. I'm grateful for my phone because it allows me to record videos and help people with their mental health. I'm grateful for X because Y. I just do that every day, write like 5-6 things. And that just makes the habit of gratitude ingrained in my mind. Like, since every morning I write down what I'm grateful for. Now, as I go through life, I'm going to think of more things that I'm grateful for. Next, meditation. This is the act of focusing on something in the present moment. For example, I use the breath, and over a period of time just fully focusing on that. Now, you might think that you're unable to focus fully onto the thing that you choose, let's say your breath, but you losing focus and refocusing onto the breath is the point, and that's where you get the benefits from. That's like your 1 rep. When you lose focus and then you refocus on the breath, that's a rep. That's a good thing. That's showing that you're making progress. That's what you want to do. Meditation improves your mindfulness, which reduces mind wandering and anxiety symptoms. So you just want to make sure you meditate on a daily basis, just 3 minutes. And I have videos on how to meditate, and that'll be in one of the corners there. Now we want to look at things that are good for your spirit and your soul. Firstly, kindness. The act of kindness, bringing joy to another person, brings you joy. Doing a nice act for another person brings you joy. How great is that? In fact, spending money on another person makes you more happy than if you spent it on yourself, which is insane when you think about it. In this modern day, we're all thought just to make money and spend it on ourselves, but really and truly, you spending it on someone else will make you more fulfilled and more content and more happy. Now, the amount spent doesn't really matter, but the more people that you can spend your money on and the more people you can bring kindness to, the better for your happiness. And also, seeing the impact of your kindness produces a greater increase in mood than if you don't see it. So you see when people kind of donate to a cause that's like across the world, which is still a good thing and you should do that. That's something that you get the benefit from. You'll see even bigger benefit if you help someone that you can see, and you can see how it affects them. So as you go about your day, you're just gonna want to commit to more acts of kindness. Compliment your mother on her cooking. You know, buy your friend a meal. Give a homeless person some money. Just small acts of kindness like that will make you more happy. And I don't want to get into this philosophical thing where, are you really being kind if you're doing it for yourself? But at the end of the day, if you're showing more love to people in the world, no one's going to complain. Like, just do that. Just be more kind. Next, social connection. And I think this is where you get the highest bang for your buck. When you're more socially connected to a community, you feel less alone and more happy. In fact, feeling alone affects your mental health 7 times more than a 4 times increase in income. So let's say you make 50k and you quadruple it. You quadruple your money, but you still feel alone. You won't even get as big an increase as if you were in a community and you felt connected with the people in that community. One problem that can arise is the social pressure from communities and being forced to act a certain way. And that's one thing that can make a lot of people kind of stay away from communities. Say, for example, in your family, maybe you're expected to get good grades, and if you don't, you're compared to your cousins. And that could be something that's very frustrating and stressful, and make you push away from the community. This is where I think mindfulness and gratitude are very important, because it allows you to stay connected to communities without letting that stuff affect you. Also, meal times with friends and family provides a huge boost to your mental health, and it's something that you should do weekly if possible. Like, get together with some friends for like 2-3 hours and literally just have a meal and bust jokes and have a good time. What if you don't have a community to interact with? This is actually something that happened to me in my first year of university. COVID hit before I joined uni, and the first few weeks I just didn't really interact with people because I was kind of just chilling in my room, brought my PlayStation with me, I was playing that a lot. And then COVID hit again, kind of, so there was another lockdown. And I started my flatmate around, so it was calm. But then there was another lockdown, and they told people to go home and not come back to uni. But I decided to stay in uni because reasons. But I was literally the only one in my flat, and then I didn't really know anyone outside of the people in my flat. So I was literally not interacting with anyone on a daily basis, and that was one of the most depressing times of my life. But what I really needed to do was just interact with anyone. You can still get the social connection boost from strangers. You don't need to have a community of people that you know. So they did a study with people on a train, and they asked half the people in the study to interact with a random person on the train, versus people who just went about their commute and didn't interact with anyone. And the people who did interact with another person, they had a boost in their happiness compared to the people who did nothing. So just connecting with random people is something that gives you a boost in your mental health. So just talk to everyone that you kind of come across. Don't be a weirdo about it. Like, if you're walking down the street, don't stop someone to have a conversation unless you have a good reason to. But maybe you can if you want to, but like, just don't be too weird about it. For example, if you're in like a lobby of some kind, so just talk to the people around you, talk to the cashier when you're at a shop, ask them how their day was. Just small social connection like that still gives you a boost in mental health. Now, this can be a bit overwhelming, so you want to build it up. So for example, if I'm walking on the street and I'm walking past other people, first just start making eye contact with strangers, maybe give them a little smile, a little hi when you're walking past them. And when you're in like lobbies and people, you can really start conversation. Like when I had this problem in first year, I really struggled to kind of break out of that, like not talking to anyone, to like start talking to people. Like, I found it kind of stressful. So you just need to build it up slowly. Like, start with just like looking at people. Sounds a bit pathetic, but you know what I mean. Like, it can actually get a bit overwhelming. Make eye contact with people, then it's a smile, then it's a hello, then it's a conversation, and you just build it up like that. You have to think of this like a skill, and it's something that you have to build up. It's not something that will come like that to you if you're not a really social person. Lastly, flow state. I've mentioned that achieving certain goals won't make you happy, but obviously you're still going to have goals and have to strive towards. And what's the best way to strive towards those goals? You want to find, because you still need to strive for some goals. You still need a certain amount of money to look after your family. You still need to present yourself in a certain way. Maybe you still want a physique so you can go and look more appealing to other people, because one thing that is kind of a shame, but it is how it is, that the better you look, the better you're perceived. So you might want to improve your looks, even though it's a bit vain. It's still something that is part of life. Like, how you look affects the relationships that you build in life, and that's a shame, but it is how it is. So maybe you have some goals to improve your appearance. We want a way that we can strive towards our goals without messing up our mental health. To do this, we want to find an activity that we can do which helps us achieve the goal while also allowing us to achieve a flow state. The flow state is a period of time when you're locked in. Athletes call it the zone, and it's basically when you and the task kind of merge. That sounds very much. It's when your mind is fully focused on that task at hand. You have no thoughts about the past, about the future, just the now. And it's typically achieved when you're doing a task and the level of skill that you're at and the challenge of the task that you're doing match up perfectly. So it's something that is either on the cusp of your abilities or just beyond. So your mind fully looks into try to achieve what you want to achieve in this task. So for example, if you're playing basketball in a 1v1 and your friend is slightly better than you and you're trying to beat him, you're fully locked in. You might even reach the zone. You're going to reach this flow state because you're on the cusp of your abilities. You're trying as hard as you can to beat him, and they are slightly better than you, but slightly to the point where you can actually beat them if you do the right things. So that will allow you to reach the flow state. There's like a chart where basically that if the challenge matches your skill, then you'll reach flow. Flow state is actually known as the peak human experience, and this is simply because you just don't have any other thoughts outside the task at hand. You're not thinking about the past and some traumatic experience that happened to you. You're not thinking about the future and having some anxious thoughts towards the future. You're just thinking about the now and the task at hand. To find the flow state activity that will help you achieve your goal is going to take some creativity, but it's worth it because you're going to enjoy every moment of you striving towards that goal, and it's going to be so sustainable because you're literally achieving peak human experience and you're striving towards your goals, which is literally the best thing ever. For example, if people want to make some money and they just apply for some random job at like Tesco's, for example, no, nothing wrong with that, but you're going to hate it. You're going to hate stacking shelves at Tesco. You don't care about Tesco. You don't care about stacking shelves. You're not in a flow state doing this. But if your flow state activity was writing, for example, in the short term, you'll definitely make a lot less money. It's hard to grow from nothing to become a big writer. But over time, if you work at your craft, you continuously, on a daily basis, achieve a flow state. And this is something you can actually do daily because guess what? It's a flow state activity that you enjoy. It's something that gives you the peak human experience. You do this daily and you get a bit creative with a way to make money for it. So for example, there's a writer called Danko. He's not really a writer, but he's a bit of a writer and a philosopher, and that's his interest. That's the stuff that puts him into a flow state, and he makes millions from it now. And it's gonna take some time. Obviously, you're not gonna make money straight away, and it's gonna take some effort, and some creativity. But at the end of the day, if you're choosing your flow state activity, you're gonna love doing it to the point where the time that it takes is not really an issue. You won't burn out because it's your flow state activity and you really like it. It gives you the peak human experience. Obviously, if you need money right now, then fair enough, go get that job. But I'd argue that a lot of people don't need that much. But you could probably argue that some of the things that you think you need, you don't need at all. And it's just society influencing you into buying stuff. Maybe you want to build some muscle, but weightlifting isn't your flow state activity. Try the CrossFit workouts, try the circuit exercises, try boxing, some sort of martial arts. Maybe that will get you into the flow state and you'll still build the muscle that you want to build. Again, it just takes a bit of creativity and you'll find the flow state activity that you enjoy that will also help you achieve your goals. And there you have it. Those are the things that will make you happy. That's a long video. It actually hurt to record this, but yeah, if you enjoyed, like, subscribe, all of that. If you got it this far, thank you. I'm actually so grateful because this is going to be a long video. So if you get this far, I appreciate you. And yeah, in a bit. Please tell me I was recording. This wasn't recording, I'm going to kill myself.